Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. As life's chapters evolve, women's focus transforms, moving beyond caregiving and traditional roles to embrace vision, purpose, and lasting legacy. Tonight, we're spotlighting a new era where women are not just participating in entrepreneurship, but redefining it. Welcome to the world of generative entrepreneurship, purpose-driven, values-based, and fiercely committed to social good. Women are uniquely equipped to lead this charge, blending empathy, resilience, and vision to build businesses that don't just succeed, but uplift entire communities. So get ready as we unveil Canada's sleeping economic giant, the female entrepreneur. So while the spotlight is just beginning to shine, women have been quietly shaping industries, building networks, and driving changes for decades. The future of entrepreneurship is female, and it's happening now. Today, I'm joined by Wendy Lund. She's CEO and founder of Wealth Management, Inc. Wendy, welcome to Empowered.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Super happy to be here.
I am super happy to talk to you about this topic. So, what do we know about entrepreneurs in Canada, and especially of women over the age of 50?
So what we know about the current landscape in 2025 is that about 18% of businesses in Canada are owned by women, but that percentage contributes $90 billion to our economy and employs 875,000 people. But that's a small part of the Canadian women that are actually embracing entrepreneurship. If we look at the differences between men and women, if we put 100 men in the room, about 2 will say they're entrepreneurs. If we look at 100 women, about 1 will. And while that doesn't look like a big difference, what it amounts to is 710,000 jobs and businesses that are not being started by women as entrepreneurs. So when I say that we have this sleeping giant in Canada, we really do, and it's with females, especially over the age of 50. And people starting businesses generally are between 50 and 64. So we're a very dominant demographic to start with. And women actually outperform men when they start businesses because of some special capabilities we have.
Okay, well, I love that. I love that. When you and I first spoke, you mentioned a book that you had read that also changed you, your life, and your view of yourself. And I was fascinated to hear about what we have in common with killer whales. You talked about killer whales. So can you share more about this with our viewers?
So I'm an academic. I'm going away on holidays. I go to Chapters to get a book reco. I'm talking to this young guy and I'm like, I really want something to like be pleasurable for reading. And he literally, we're at this part and he doesn't move and he pulls out this book. And the book is named after a female dog. So you can figure out the name there, by Lucy Cook, who's this zoologist. And even as an academic myself, teaching physiology for 32 years, I got to the chapter on killer whales and I was like, what? I hadn't even considered, why am I still here in my 50s, 60s, and 70s? Evolutionarily, we're sort of done with.
Right.
And there are only 3 species on this planet that have women that live well past their reproductive years: killer whales, pilot whales, and us.
Interesting.
Which means nature's really designed us beautifully to thrive as entrepreneurs and leaders. We are here to lead the younger generation because of the wisdom that we hold.
So maybe we need to get this calling going, and we need to get an entire generation of women wanting to be entrepreneurs, because, I mean, what you're saying right now is incredible. We have it in us, and we need to use it and thrive off of it.
Yeah. But we don't. And why we don't is, as women, we are told that we kind of lose our value after reproduction because we put such a value on fertility for women that once you're done with that, we're kind of done with your value. And we bought into it. I have bought into that. I started wealth management at 55, left a traditional career in academia because I was like, I think I'm smart enough and I'm brave enough. And I now have that courage chemistry that comes with postmenopause to allow me to say, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And we're losing a significant amount of economics in Canada because we're not encouraging women to get out there and share their wisdom and support the younger generations.
And I love the fact that we're talking about this right now, because there are so many women that are at a crossroads right now. They've lost their jobs. They're thinking about retiring, not really wanting to retire. I mean, this is an incredible episode that can help jumpstart their entrepreneurial career, their thought process, the wisdom, and even have the courage to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But We need to go to commercial break. So please don't go away. We'll be right back and talk more about becoming an entrepreneur after 50.
Mhm.
Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Canada's sleeping economic giant, the female entrepreneur, is today's topic. Wendy, I want to talk about neuroscience and hormones. What do they tell us about women past their reproductive years that makes them a powerhouse for leadership and entrepreneurship later in life?
I don't think there's a person in Canada that will deny the story we've been told about hormones, especially how they've impacted us growing up. We're too hormonal, we're on our cycle. And so we have this history of not being in good relationship with hormones. But what happens when you reach menopause and beyond is the changes in estrogen, they flatten out, but they don't flatten us out. They actually clear the way for this generative entrepreneur spirit. It also means when we lose estrogen that testosterone plays a bigger role in our chemistry. So we have this entrepreneurial chemistry in our blood now that calls us into courage mode where we maybe weren't before. We can say things that maybe we're scared before, and we're not as motivated to do people pleasing or taking care of other people because that chapter is a little bit behind us now. So we've got this amazing biochemistry that actually makes us better entrepreneurs past the age of 50 than even before.
You know, it's interesting. Menopause keeps popping up. And we started talking about menopause on Empowered. I think it was the second show when we went to air, and it was with Annie Goudreau, who's our resident nutritionist. And now that we talk about menopause, I seem to see it everywhere now. Like it just keeps popping up and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. When we say menopause, you normally think of what? An elderly woman, wrinkles, your hormones, hot flashes. We have been indoctrinated with a laundry list of the deficits, the things that are removed once we reach menopause. And then because we value fertility, we start to think that we are of no value.
Yeah.
But the truth is that chemistry and psychology and biology changes so that we can be these leaders that we probably couldn't be when we were 30.
So I've got this menopause question here, which kind of ties into what you were talking about. You know, we think about it as aging as women in society. This is what it is. But we only think about what's wrong. And you had just mentioned that, and what's hard with life. And you just mentioned that. So what does it say about how we view our own health, how we view our happiness, and potential historically? Like, how do we get there?
Yeah. We got there for a lot of reasons, but one, because I've come from the healthcare system, we've been pathologized in this part of our life. Menopause is viewed as a disorder and a symptom that needs to be managed. What if we taught women that you were getting a promotion? Like, what if we viewed the change, which can be uncomfortable and yes, might need to be managed, but if you viewed it as this transition to a promotion where you get to be a brand new version of yourself and challenge yourself in new ways, imagine the story we would tell as we go to menopause. We might look forward to it.
Yeah.
No more of those monthly cycles, those major mood swings, the irritability, get through the transition. And then, as you know, when you get over on the other side, you really feel a brand new version of yourself that's just amazing and empowering.
I love the fact that you talk about it as a promotion. That's such a positive outlook when you look at menopause. And yeah, it's a brand new way of life, and it will lift your life
Yeah.
because it's a promotion. It's a good thing.
It is. If we knew and understood it, like again, when you understand that we are better leaders past 50, you wouldn't see this aging as a decline. You
Yeah.
would see it as a rebirth of new skills that you've been cultivating for probably 30 years. So it's an opportunity to redefine that. The healthcare system pathologizes life. It over medicalizes our experience, especially for women. But I think you're doing a great job at empowering women, and we get the message out that yes, it is a transition and it can be difficult. So is labor, so is like growing through puberty. There are always some humps,
There's
but we
always
don't
something.
need to say, I'm not worth it. We can say, I am, and watch me.
Yeah.
It certainly has happened in my life.
So I'm going to ask the next question, and thank you, by the way, for complimenting the show. I'm going to ask your next question, but I don't even know whether we're going to get a chance to get to it because of the next commercial. But in your own research in obtaining a Master's of Science in Mindfulness Studies, you came about a framework of health that really shifted a lot of you. I want you to tell us about this model of health and how it inspired you to view your own journey through menopause and actually starting a business at the age of 55. And there's only 20 seconds left right
Okay.
now, but we will delve into it when we come back.
Do you want me
Please.
So the model that we have, our healthcare system is disease care. It's not really healthcare. I bump into this article doing my thesis. It's called the salutogenic, sounds fancy. Salute just refers to health, and genesis, the creation of.
Now let's hang on to that thought
Okay.
because this is where it's going to get really, really interesting. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Canada's sleeping economic giant, the female entrepreneur, is today's topic. Okay, Wendy, we were talking about a model before we went to the commercial break, and I can't remember what the model was.
It's salutogenic, a big fancy name. Just know that the healthcare system we have in Canada is really disease care. This model is the opposite. And so it asks the question of us every day while we're taking care of illness, what are you doing to cause your best well being? Not what am I going to do to manage my risk factors for cancer, for example. You can have both perspectives in your life. And it caused me in my own journey through menopause to say, not what's wrong with me as I go through the journey, but what's strong about me, what's emerging in my life, not just what's falling away. So I can deal with these symptoms as I go through transition without pathologizing myself. And so it's a beautiful reminder to me that I get to choose what I can do to foster my best well-being and my best future self when I'm 70. What I do today matters then.
This is really incredible because you hear so much negativity that is surrounded by menopause or women aging and ageism and everything else. And yet this entire show is about embracing it and promoting yourself and enjoying life to the fullest because you are qualified and you've earned it, basically.
Mhm. When I talk to women who get to their 50s, sometimes they're like, I don't have a purpose. And so they're not really sure. And I have to remind them that even if you've been a stay-at-home mom for 20, 30 years, you've been cultivating these executive leadership roles.
Yep.
If you've dealt with teenagers, you've dealt with some serious conflict resolution, right? If you've managed a budget and made meals night after night, you really understand resource allocation. And so when I remind them that just because you were a stay-at-home mom, and this feeling that I'm not enough in my 50s because I'm no longer fertile. So how could I possibly be an entrepreneur? Who am I to do that? I'm like, just listen up in terms of what our evolution says about your magnificence in this stage of your life.
And I think it's really important that you say this about women who are stay-at-home moms or work part-time or whatever. They actually do have the skills. They have learned these skills to run their household, to run their children, to run their lives, but they don't look at it as negotiating. They don't look at it as budgeting. They don't look at it as having skills that can actually run a company. And you mentioned the word purpose. I want to go back. You use the term purpose. You also use the term purposepreneur. I want to talk about it. What does it mean? And what do you mean by generative entrepreneurship? And how is it different from traditional entrepreneurship?
So when I started my business and was in a coaching container, I was told I had to say this was about the money. And I'm like, it's not. I'm doing wealth management because I know I can fill a gap and this is purpose and legacy for me. The profits matter and making money for sure, but I wasn't driven by the margin. I was driven by mission, which is really generative entrepreneurship. It looks at Lord down the line where you're planting a tree and putting shade where I'm never going to sit under it. And so the changes I know I'm making are probably a few generations away in terms of the impact. And so instead of a return on your investment, it's the return on what is the impact. Traditional entrepreneurship is really about going in and extracting the most at the highest profit margin. Generative leadership is more like a garden. I'm planting a seed, I'm looking at the soil, I'm wondering what ecosystems does this plant need to thrive? And how will I be able to share the abundance of this garden with the people that I serve? And what impact will it have on that? That aligns more for women. I think just in our DNA from the years of caring for others. That's what makes you so prepared in your 50s to start a business.
That's amazing. Feeling ready or good enough is often the biggest mistake. We always go through that. I'm not sure that I'm ready for this. I don't think I'm smart enough for this. And this is one of the big mistakes that we always make. And we need to create a legacy. So, how has mindfulness helped you in your own journey when you started wealth management?
So I have a master's degree in mindfulness, pretty new. Mindfulness is often thought of like, oh, you just have to empty your mind and be zen and calm and cool. But it's actually probably the most foundational thing I've done in starting a business because it allows you to be with that stinky thinking. I'm not good enough. I'm not credentialed enough. Somebody else is already doing this. I don't have a business degree. Yeah, that's normal. It's called the self-critic. It's going to come up whenever you do anything new. And when I tell people mindfulness helps you, this is the only pause I want you to leave the show with,
Mhm.
not menopause. Mindfulness creates a pause long enough that you can really be with those thoughts that are stopping you from doing the business. And that you can be like, okay, is that a true statement? And can I pause, reframe, and maybe interject a new way of looking at it?
So, we're going to have to pause
Okay.
because we have to go to commercial break. Please don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Canada's sleeping economic giant, the female entrepreneur, is today's topic, and I'm joined by Wendy Lund, CEO and founder of Wealth Management Inc. Wendy, this has been a fascinating talk, and I can't believe that this is our last segment. So, if purpose is as a protective factor in our own health, how can a woman in her 50s begin identifying her purpose if she spent decades in caregiving or conventional careers?
Just to let you know that purpose matters for well-being. We know that in the literature, if you have a strong purpose in life, you're likely to live 7 years longer. So entrepreneurship later in life may matter for your own well-being, let
Interesting.
alone the people you're helping. It also decreases your risk for dementia by 2.5 times. And it makes you more likely to get through adversity, which, let's be clear, starting a business is going to cause some adversity in your life and some challenges. If you're wondering, what's my purpose? If you're sitting at home on the couch and you're like, I don't really have a purpose, Wendy, do an anger inventory. Like, think about what in your life that you know is missing in the market. What are you always looking to solve in your home, your relationships with your kids? It might point you in the direction of that. Also, what do your friends and family and your kids always call you about? Like, they want you to solve an economic problem. Maybe it's about getting things organized. Again, it might be a cue to what you've learned along the way. And then also think about, who do you have a problem not helping? Like, you're always drawn to want to give to maybe a charity or a group of vulnerable sector folks. And that might also give you an intersection. Those 3 points can help you realize you've been practicing lots of leadership skills to get to the point where you can start a business there. Start with those 3 things, find your intersection, and your purpose might be lying right there.
Oh my God, I love it. So, if a woman's listening to this today, and she has a small idea, like a tiny spark, what's the very first thing that she should do to honor it, to honor that tiny spark? Like, you've shared the art and science of what it means to be an agent of change in a culture that has told us that change means that we're done because we're too old. Um, let's help that woman with the spark.
If you're sitting at home and you think you've got an idea for a business, write it down for real. You've got to speak it into existence. So get it written down, go get a new notepad, go to your printer, get your kids' construction paper, write down what you think your business is. It doesn't need to be perfect. We wait for perfection sometimes and we lose the opportunity because we can get that stinky thinking in the way. Write it down, and then within 24 hours, you need to declare that to somebody. If you're brave enough, put it on your LinkedIn profile. If not, find a friend where you can say, I think I'm going to start a business doing this. And find the friend that's not going to criticize you and give you 100 reasons why you shouldn't. Find that person who'll be like, it's about time you saw how good you are at
Right.
something. But you really need to speak it. When we talk about claiming our own CEO and foundership, you have to be the first one. Nobody's going to give that to you. You've got to declare it, write it out, and then tell somebody, put it in the public. You can figure out the details later.
Own it,
Own it.
right?
Yeah, speak it.
So we have About a minute 30 left, and I'm sad that we're coming to a close. I want to talk about three main points that you want to leave us with for more reflection. So if somebody's sitting at home thinking, all of a sudden has thought they're too old, they don't have anything to give, I don't know what kind of a business I'm going to start. Let's give them three main points that will get them to that next level.
Yeah. Don't believe your thoughts. There's a very common practice in mindfulness that is thoughts are not facts. We think just because we thought it, where that stinky thinking comes, that it must be true, that I'm no good, I'm not smart enough.
Well, it's the imposter syndrome.
Oh, well, that is going to show up day one. As
All
soon
the
as you
time.
write that out,
All
the
the time.
imposter syndrome. It happens still. I'm driving here in a studio. I'm like, am I going to be good? And I've been doing this for years. And so it's natural for those things to occur. So notice the thought, don't believe in it. Don't trust that your fears equal your future. You can bring them along. The idea with mindfulness, again, is acknowledging what might be difficult and cultivating a kind curiosity about what you are good at. It's easy, like in menopause, to come up with an inventory of things that don't work well, what's broken, what's falling apart. But what can you promote yourself to? You need to do that before somebody else is going to do that. And then speak it into existence.
I love it. Thank you so much, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Wendy reminds us they trained you to be quiet, agreeable, and grateful. But your wisdom is not passive, it's powerful, and it's needed. We are the first generation of women with the longevity, literacy, and lived experience to rebuild the world from wisdom. The truth is, you're not too late, you're not too much, and you're not too old. You're precisely on time for the kind of leadership the world is finally ready for. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you. Bye for now.